Welcome back to my channel at The Movie Optimist, where I try and find the silver linings in even the worst of films. Tonight, I just got done watching the newest film, The Bride, starring Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale, and this is written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. And essentially, in this movie, Frankenstein, played by Christian Bale, is dying of loneliness. So he finds this mad scientist that he read up on over the course of the last 50 years of his life, and he goes to her begging for help finding a corpse that they could animate to give himself a bride, so he won't be alone anymore. He seeks companionship. So after some begging and pleading, the mad scientist agrees to help him, and they go to a cemetery and find a woman played by Jessie Buckley. They bring her back to their lab and animate her and bring her back from the dead. Now, on one hand, Frankenstein now has this newfound bride that's an undead corpse just like he is to share his life with, but bleeding into her persona is memories from her past life, whereas he doesn't remember his past life. She kind of does, because she went through some shit to get to the point where she was killed and put in the ground for them to find to reanimate. And she's kind of having an identity crisis along the path of this Bonnie and Clyde like adventure that they go on, wreaking havoc and mayhem, crime, and death along the way. And it really does play like a Frankenstein movie meets Bonnie and Clyde. That's essentially what you're getting when you're going to this movie. And look, I love Maggie Gyllenhaal. I loved her in The Dark Knight, and this movie sees her reteaming with her on-screen partner and Christian Bale playing Batman in that movie. And I've liked her in everything else she's ever been in, and this is one of her, I think it's her first directorial debut and her first written movie, and I respect so much all of the stuff they tried to throw at the wall here. She tries to take some really big swings with this movie and a lot of the things she has to say, but at the end of the day, it just feels all over the place, and it pains me to say this because I am the movie optimist, and I struggle and strive so hard in any movie that I'm in to find things that I like about a movie to get me to the point where I leave the theater feeling like my night going there to see that was justified. And this movie just didn't have it. It has some things that I latched onto to get me across the finish line, but it wasn't enough to make me sit here and say that I could recommend this movie to you. Essentially, this movie is having a crisis of identities, because on one hand, it wants to be a Frankenstein and a Bride of Frankenstein movie, where it's about Frankenstein looking for love and he finds it in the corpse. But it doesn't really succeed at being a monster movie because it's not trying to be. It's trying to be a retelling of Bonnie and Clyde. But it doesn't succeed at being a Bonnie and Clyde movie because the thing that makes Bonnie and Clyde so compelling is they truly did love each other in Bonnie and Clyde. But Bonnie is kind of crazy because she always wanted fame and fortune but never got it organically through natural talent, so she decided to become a criminal. And Clyde sticks with her through it all because he loves her, and you always bought into that love story. But I always felt watching this film that the bride is kind of just settling for Frankenstein because it's her only option, being an undead corpse herself. She can't be with humans. So I never really bought their love story. And then they're also overacting a lot in this movie, where Christian Bale's Frankenstein is yelling a lot, and it didn't feel right. Like, it felt forced, and it kind of felt a little cartoonish and over the top. And then on another foot, it's trying to be a movie about feminism and a voice for women that are mistreated and rising up to defend themselves. But it also doesn't succeed at that because it doesn't fully commit to that genre. Like, they'll talk about it briefly here and there, but then it goes away from that when it tries to focus on the Bonnie and Clyde aspect of it, or the fact that it is a Frankenstein movie, and it doesn't really stick to any of its guns. It tries to be multiple different things, but because it doesn't commit to one of them, it fails at all of them. And on top of all that, they also mix in some third wall breaks here, where they have the writer, I forgot what her name was, but it's the person that originally wrote Frankenstein. They have the bride in this movie possessed by the creator of Frankenstein, and I don't mean the scientist that creates Frankenstein, I mean she is possessed by the woman that wrote the book Frankenstein. So it's like this third wall break where the real life deceased version of the person that wrote it is possessing this in-movie bride counterpart that's an offshoot creation from Frankenstein. And it's like this third wall thing that they do where every now and then it cuts to this black screen and you see the creator of Frankenstein, also played by Jessie Buckley, in black and white telling the bride what to do, like she's controlling her. Almost like that scene in Get Out where like he's in the darkness looking at himself from his, like through his eyes. So they also try to do this third wall thing that doesn't really work. And then on top of that, they also tried to turn this movie into a musical, but not a musical like The Greatest Showman where it fits and it works and it's part of it, or even like Joker Folie à Deux where they're insane, so they're imagining themselves dancing in the streets to like this music. Here it just feels out of place and forced, like they just wanted to have some musical number in it, and it feels weird seeing Christian Bale play Frankenstein while also breaking out into song and dance. it doesn't make any sense. And then structurally, this movie doesn't really have a destination. Like, it's just, they go on the run and they stumble into different types of scenarios that they find themselves into, getting more and more in trouble with the law until it ends the way it ends. I don't want to spoil it here, but it just seemed very directionless. Like it had a few things to say, but no overall thing that they were trying to get to. It was like just following them along on this crime path, but it was just kind of a weak story. And honestly, the biggest sin is I go to the movies a lot and I see a lot of really long movies. And this is the first time that I checked my phone multiple times. After about the 2-hour mark, I took my phone out of my pocket to see how long I've been sitting in this theater for, and it was only 40 minutes. I thought it was like 2 hours and it was like 40 minutes, and I still had another hour and 20 minutes to go. And that's a testament to the fact that I just found this movie kind of boring. There are some action set pieces in it and some shootouts, but none that really stand out or are memorable, if you will. But at the end of the day, there are some good things to like about this movie. One of them being the cinematography. If you're a cinematographer the way that I am, or you just appreciate the way that movies are made, especially period accurate movies, this movie is gorgeous. This movie was made on film, so it just looks very unique as opposed to all the things that we get that are digital and like the superhero world and stuff like that. And the recreation of like a 1940s Manhattan in Chicago is really cool looking, and it's a very colorful movie, and they use a lot of really interesting ways to light it. So for a cinematographer, it's kind of a wet dream just to look at. And then on top of that, you also got the performances from Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. And look, I expect nothing less from Christian Bale. He is remarkable, but Jessie Buckley really wowed me with Hamnet, which is in the award circuit now for the Oscars, and she's probably going to win the Best Actress. And I didn't know if she was a one-hit wonder or not, or just good under Chloe Zhao's direction for Hamnet, but she has proven to me here that she is a remarkable actress that's probably going to be sought after by a lot of directors and writers, because she really is electric. She's magnetic. She is a force to be reckoned with, and she is so compelling to watch on screen. She is just a shooting star. Like, I really can't describe just how incredible she is, and it's because of her performance alone that I had some kind of enjoyment out of this film, because if not for that, I would have really disliked it. But the performances from Christian Bale and her, and the cinematography get me to a point where I'm going to sit here and say I'll give this movie a 5 out of 10, because I am a cinematographer, so I look at things like that a lot. And whereas I was bored with a lot of this movie, I found solace in just appreciating what went into creating this period accurate 1940s New York and Chicago. But even that becomes a problem if you think about it, because I don't really know when this movie takes place. They're driving cars from like the 30s and 40s, and the cities are designed to be like 30s and 40s, but then you have them going to like a nightclub rave listening to modern like techno music, and I was like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't understand if this is supposed to be this like fever dream where they're like imagining music from the 2020s back in the day. Like, it goes into the whole Maggie Gyllenhaal tried to throw as much at the wall as she could and tried to be like an artsy fartsy type of like film, where as in like Sinners, they have that scene where like it's a period accurate film, but they have that like musical number where you see like women twerking to today's music. It almost felt like they were trying to do something like that, but it just doesn't work here because the rest of the movie doesn't work, and it just feels like they threw a bunch of the stuff at the wall to see what would stick, and none of it did. So at the end of the day, I give this movie a 5 out of 10. I can't see anybody that isn't a cinematography nerd or just like a diehard Frankenstein buff enjoying this film. Like, I can't see the general audience enjoying this film, because I was so bored, and I am tailor-made for a movie like this. Like, this movie should have blew me away, but at the end of the day, I just didn't have a good time. However, that being said, I am excited to see where Maggie Gyllenhaal goes next, because she clearly has a unique voice, and I think with a little bit more refinement and a little bit more practice, she could make something really special, but this just wasn't it. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited to see this film? Has my review of it swayed your opinion on whether or not you want to see it? I'd love to have a conversation about it. And as always, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you next time.